ഇപ്പോൾ ദില്ലിയിൽ CPM ജനറൽ സെക്രട്ടറി സീതാറാം യെച്ചൂരി മാധ്യമങ്ങളെ കാണുന്നു.
Technically, this is the second meeting. First one was when we elected our Politburo and the General Secretary at the Congress venue itself, and we thoroughly discussed the current political situation in the country, and we have come to the conclusion that this 1 year has been a year under this new BJP government, where basically most of the promises that they made to the people during the election campaign, none of them have actually been realized. On the contrary, the conditions, the livelihood conditions of the vast majority of our people are deteriorating because of the constant economic burdens that are being mounted on them. The price rise continues. International oil prices have fallen very drastically, but the prices in India continue to be hiked. As far as the economic achievements, so-called achievements that this government is propagating, from what we can see, even by the government's own statistics, its claims are not borne out by the reality. All of us know that the national income accounting procedure was changed after this government came. A new series has begun of accounts which shows the immediate growth in a very inflated manner. But if you go to the actual fundamentals of the economy, you find that things are either stagnating, if not declining. This is true of all the three major sectors of the economy, that is industry, agriculture and the services sector. And we've given from the government's own statistics that both the level of investment in the country, the level of consumption in the country are stagnant, which means despite all this hype of Make in India and the impetus that this government is supposed to have given for our domestic economic growth, you find the levels of domestic demand and investment remaining stagnant or declining. That means unemployment is increasing. So the sum total of this is, with growing unemployment, growing inflation, particularly food articles and essential commodities, the prices rising, the living conditions of the people are being under tremendous squeeze at the moment, and these appear to be deteriorating for the large sections of the Indian people. Of particular concern is the agrarian distress. The first crop after this government came, that is the Kharif crop, that was suffered from the drought. Then you had the seasonal rains, because of which nearly 1.8 to 2 crores of hectares of standing crop was devastated. Now the weather forecast says it will not be an adequate monsoon. In this background, we find the farmers are unable to make both ends meet. The BJP had promised in their election campaign that they'll give a minimum support price which will be 50% more than the costs of production. The Commission for Agricultural Prices, Costs and Prices, that estimates the cost of production, and what they show as the increase in the cost of production during the last 1 year, the minimum support price is nowhere matching that rate of increase. The government has also pressurized the state governments from stop giving their bonuses to the Kisans. The net result is that you find a 26% rise in distress suicides by the peasantry during the course of this 1 year. And if the agrarian sector is being squeezed out like this, it is not surprising at all that you had such a bad spate of heat wave deaths across the country. The rural India is really today suffering. We have all had very abnormal heat waves, we've had abnormal winters, but never have we heard so many people dying. And we are hearing that today because the rural sponge that used to exist in our country, where people dying out of starvation are protected by the rural society, that sponge is dried up completely. And on top of this, you have the cuts in Rega, because of which a 60% fall in the number of days people are getting jobs under the rural employment guarantee. You have cuts in the public distribution system. When you have a distress situation in agriculture, a deepening crisis, when food grain supplies are cut through the public distribution system, rural guarantee is cut because of lack of funds, it's only natural that the rural population, their suffering is mounting, and that is why you find you find both the distress suicides as well as starvation deaths. Services sector is declining for the first time. The PMI, which is the index with which the service sector's expansion or contraction is measured, the PMI is above 50%. Service sector is supposed to be expanding. Now, in the recent months, last 3 months particularly, it's come down to below 50%, which means the service sector is contracting. Services sector was the largest contributor to our economic growth. That is declining. So in all the three sectors, you have a condition which is only adding to the misery of the people. So it is this situation that confronts the Indian people a year after this Modi government has assumed office. And the Central Committee of the CPIM decided that on these issues there should be a nationwide campaign that we should launch. So the party has decided that the first fortnight of August, from the 1st to the 14th, all the units of the party will launch struggles on the pressing local issues in their areas, highlighting during this process the restoration of the rural guarantee scheme back to its original, where, as I said, it's been cut by 60% in this 1 year, the strengthening of the public distribution system, and at the same time during this fortnight and before and after, the party all across the country will actively support the programs undertaken by the Bhumi Bachao Andolan against the Land Acquisition Act, a platform of Kisan organizations and many social organizations who have together launched this movement across the country. And simultaneously, the party will also mobilize and support the All India general strike call given by the central trade unions on September 2nd against the proposed changes in the labor laws and on the deteriorating conditions of the working class and the working people of our country. So what we are envisaging is an all-around strengthening of people's movements and struggles, focusing on the agrarian distress, on these issues, while supporting the Bhumi Bachao Andolan's campaign against this Land Acquisition Act and the support for the All India General Strike on September 2nd of the working class action. So this is the manner in which we think that popular struggles in the country will have to be strengthened in order to force this government to reverse these policies which are brazenly promoting only the interests of foreign capital and Indian big capital in our country today at the expense of the people. I think in the 18 and by now the 19 foreign trips that the Prime Minister has undertaken, a record in 1 year of any Prime Minister in the country since independence. You've always had a very big component of Indian corporates that accompany the Prime Minister. Good. If the government of the day is promoting industry and is promoting investment in the country that will lead to greater jobs and greater growth, that is a good thing. But then you find only the same set of groups going, so its new type of crony capitalism is being built up in the country. And whether that is good for the country's economy as a whole and for the welfare of the people, on that there is a very big question mark. Along with this, what the Central Committee noted is that this deteriorating condition of the people in the sphere of economy and the impact of the economic policies on the people is accompanied by a relentless communal campaign that is being conducted by all the tentacles of the RSS Parivar, which this government seems to be patronizing. And we have this relentless attack on the syllabus in the country, the historical research bodies, changing these bodies, appointment of known RSS people whose views are quite opposite that of the syncretic evolved culture and civilization in our country, and where history is being systematically replaced by Hindu mythology. Now this is a process that is continuing, and the latest attack of what we have seen, the intolerance that was shown as far as in educational institutions, we saw what happened in the IIT Madras. Now, I believe as we are here together, they have now withdrawn that ban on the student body, which is good. Finally, public pressure seems to have worked on the government. But at the same time, one hand, this sharpening communal polarization, and on the other hand, there is a slide back in the healthy center-state relations. I mean, we have not heard such things before in India, that the 8 chief ministers of the northeastern states write to the Prime Minister separately, saying that the 10% mandatory allocation of funds that are set apart for development in our country, 10% of that must go to the northeast. That is the mandate. That is why you set up institutions like the donor, like the Ministry for Northeast Affairs, etc. Since the Planning Commission has been abolished, how will these funds flow to these states? On that the Chief Ministers wanted to discuss with the Prime Minister, but the Prime Minister, I believe, has not found time to meet them. You have RSS and people and active BJP politicians being appointed as governors in the states. You find the interference in the rights of the democratically elected state governments, like what is happening in Delhi between the Lieutenant Governor and the Delhi government. So this is encroaching on one of our basic principles of our constitutional order, that is federalism. And this is a dangerous trend. And along with this are the erosion of the norms of parliamentary democracy. All of us know that it's again never happened in India, that you have a joint parliamentary committee examining a new law that this government wants to bring on land acquisition, approved by the government naturally, otherwise the parliament cannot have formed this joint committee. They are examining this amendment, and while they are examining, you find the government promulgating an ordinance on the same subject. An ordinance promulgation means a new law has come into force. When you are examining a law and trying to understand it and go into the depth and to determine how this law should be framed, you already have that being implemented. This has never happened before. You've seen how the money bill definition is being used in order to bypass the Rajya Sabha, where the BJP does not have a majority. So you find parliamentary methods also being constantly eroded. So the sum total of all this is that economic conditions deteriorating, communal polarization intensifying, center-state relations deteriorating, parliamentary democratic norms being undermined. The sum total of this is actually undermining the republican order in the country, the constitutional republican order, and imposing greater burdens on the people. It is against this that the campaign and protest movement that I mentioned to you, that the Central Committee has decided, and this is the manner in which the CPIM will politically intervene in the situation to build up the strength of the people's movements in order to pressurize this government to reverse its policies which are against the interest and livelihood of the people today. We have also noted the landmark decision taken by the left-front government in Tripura in withdrawing the armed forces the AFSPA from the state, and we hope that this will have a salutary bearing on the other places where this draconian law is sometimes misused against innocent people. In Tripura, the recent elections to the tribal autonomous district councils, a big victory for the left front there. We've hailed that. In West Bengal, we have noted that the CPIM, under tremendous pressure of this politics of terror and intimidation, our comrades continue to be killed and murdered there in defense of democracy. Elections continue to be rigged. But in spite of that, in these recent municipal elections, for the first time since 2009, we see a difference that has come. Our party had set for ourselves the task that in Bengal, our first objective is to arrest the party's decline in terms of the people's support to the party. That erosion must be arrested. On the basis of that, our support among the people must be restored or retrieved. And on top of that, we'll have to build our movement for the future. So arrest, retrieve, build. In that framework, from 2009 in every single election, every year there was an election in Bengal and most parts of the country. 2009, you had the parliament election, 2010 municipal elections, 2011 assembly elections, 2012 and 13 local body elections, 2014 parliament elections, and now 2015 municipal elections. In this, every time our electoral support declined in Bengal till 2015, where there is a slight increase. We are not so much hailing the increase, but the fact that the process of arresting our decline has begun, and we have restored or arrested the important municipality in North Bengal, that is of Siliguri, from the Trinamool Congress. So this, I think, is the beginning of the process of the ascendancy of the left in the state of West Bengal, which is of big importance to the country's politics. So this, and we've noted wherever the resistance to the violence and intimidation of the Trinamool has been sharply shown, there democracy has triumphed in Bengal. So that is what we shall, that is a course that we shall continue to pursue. The Central Committee decided that in a big way, in accordance to the Party Congress resolution, to observe the birth centenary of Comrade Harkishan Singh Surjit through programs across the country. His contributions to the national movement, to the communist movement, to the fight against communalism, to the establishment of alternative governments at the center, all these will be taken into account in these observations, and the focus, however, would be his relentless campaign against communalism and all expressions of fundamentalism. These will culminate on 23rd of March 2016, which is his 100th birthday. On the Nepal earthquake, at the call of the CPIM, there has been a total collection of 3,25,86,871 Indian rupees. That is equivalent to more than 5,21,38,000 odd Nepali rupees. This substantial collection will be handed over to the Nepal Prime Minister's Relief Fund. I shall be going there to Nepal tomorrow and will hand this over personally on the 10th, on Wednesday. And we would like this money to be utilized by the Nepal government in reconstructing. It's their choice which place or which village they'll choose. But in reconstructing villages where all the houses have been destroyed, their educational institutions or medical services there. The 21st Congress of the CPIM decided to organize an organization plenum, which is a very important event in our party's both functioning as well as in order to strengthen the party to meet the challenges of the present time. This organization plenum has been decided will be held towards the end of this year, probably November, if not beginning December. But this will be held in Calcutta, in West Bengal. That will host this organization plenum in the later part of the year. So the main job of the Central Committee after the Party Congress is to divide the responsibilities amongst the main functionaries of the CPI. All of you know our party functions on the principle of collective functioning but individual responsibilities. These individual responsibilities have been decided upon, state-wise, front-wise, which areas, all these decisions have been taken. And the other task which only the Central Committee can do in our party is to appoint the editors of our party journals. That has been done and it is there in the note we gave you. Comrade Prakash will henceforth be the editor of People's Democracy, which I used to edit so far. And the local head would be edited by a Central Committee member, Rajendra Sharma. I shall be editing the party's theoretical journal, that is the Marxist. We formed a 6-member Central Secretariat that is headed by the General Secretary, and the 5 members of the Central Committee who will be part of that. That is given, that list is here with you. Comrade Hari Singh Kang, Nilotpul Basu, V. Srinivas Rao, Joginder Sharma and Comrade Ashok Dhavale, who was till recently our Maharashtra Secretary. He will be joining us at the centre. And the Central Committee constituted a Central Discipline Committee for matters concerning inner party discipline. If there are any issues that need the consideration of the Central Committee, this Discipline Committee will take care of those issues and present its report to the Central Committee for the necessary action to be taken. So this in sum is the agenda that we completed in 1.5 days. All of you know we had 17 new members in the Central Committee, a large corpus of young leaders who have come, and so we had a very good, substantial discussion with the participation of all of them. And so this is the heavy agenda that the committee had done in its 1.5 days. So that's... In Bihar, we have decided that we shall fight the coming elections together with the left parties. That means mainly the CPI and the CPI, and it will be CPI, CPIML, CPIM. That will be the main combination, along with other left forces who are willing to join. Wait. I mean, you'll have further announcements, I'm sure. Because our decision at the central level is the left should fight the elections together. And there are a lot of discussions that are going on. What appeared as the improbability of the Janata Parivar to come together, yesterday they have come together, that is the announcement. Very good if they have come together in the fight against the communal forces. But as I said, after clearing the hills in the Himalayas, the Ganga, when it descends into the Gangetic plain in Bihar, it flows faster. So let's see, a lot of water will flow, and we only hope that there is consolidation of the forces to meet the people's concerns today and against communalism.
But are you open to the idea, because Mr. Sharad Yadav said to combat the communal politics, there is this need of the time where all the secular parties, including Congress, Janata Parivar and left, should come together as a
You see,
front.
what we have decided is that strengthening of the left is only strengthening a force against the communal forces. The left has been the most consistent and will remain the most consistent and the strong anti-communal force in the country. So this is our decision, which was taken along with the other left parties some time ago. We shall meet now with the other left parties and see what are the developments that will take place and accordingly take the decisions. But now our decision is to contest these elections along with the left parties.
लेकिन सवाल ये है कि क्या किसी तरह की कोई अंडरस्टैंडिंग जनता परिवार के साथ या सेक्युलर फ्रंट के साथ हो सकती है?
देखिए ना साहब, देखिए कि किस तरीके से ये परिणाम होंगे. अभी बहुत कुछ बदलाव आएगा और आने की गुंजाइश भी है, आने की संभावना भी है और लग भी रहा है कि वो आएगा. कि किस तरीके से वो होंगे, कि क्या परिवर्तन होंगे, उस पर निर्भर करेगा. लेकिन हमारी जो निर्णय है और आज की नहीं, ये कुछ दिन पहले की है कि तीनों वाम मोर्चे की पार्टियां, तीनों कम्युनिस्ट पार्टियां, हम तीनों ने यही तय किया था कि हम तीनों मिलकर ये चुनाव लड़ेंगे. अब जितना हमारी ताकत बढ़ेगी, हमारा यही मानना है और ये भी हकीकत है देश की राजनीति में. हम जितना मजबूत होंगे उतना ही मजबूत होगा आपकी सांप्रदायिकता के खिलाफ संघर्ष.
दरवाजे तो बंद नहीं होंगे, दरवाजे बंद नहीं करेंगे.
जब समय आएगा, जब देखी जाएगी मतलब क्या परिवर्तन होंगे. देखिए, अब एक ही हमारे लिए दरवाज़ा अभी हम खोले हैं वामपंथी एकता की. पहले उस दरवाजे से तो मतलब शुरू हो यात्रा, उसके बाद हाँ अब पता नहीं भाई. अब वास्तविकता के चलते हुए कौन से कैसे खिड़कियां और दरवाजे खुलेंगे. लेकिन ये हमारा लक्ष्य है, वामपंथी ताकतें मिलकर ये चुनाव लड़े. What is there to comment? We have seen the cash for vote scandals right from the Parliament of India down now to various states and where such things are happening. The degeneration of your political morality is so deep that it is reflecting itself in all such immoral, politically immoral practices. So we strongly condemn, action must be taken, but I think the time has come for all the other political parties in the country to actually seriously consider what we have been suggesting for some years now, that what we require is very, very strong and very comprehensive electoral reforms in the country, without which such degeneration cannot be stopped. The degeneration is not, is there, but it is being, enhanced, so magnified, so sharply and in such a large way by this open license we have given for corporate funding of political parties. We are the only party that has gone on record today in the country to say ban such corporate funding. Yes, corporates must contribute to developing democracy in our country. Let that funds be taken into a government account, election commission account, whatever that is be decided. Let those funds be used to fund a state-funded election process. that is there today in Germany, that is there today in many of the Western democracies. Unless you move into that and do some radical changes in your election process and your structure, such what you call diseases, I can only call them a disease, such diseases will go on increasing, further assaulting your political morality. Anything else? You see, your question has got so many continuous positives. The Kerala government is proposing to hand over, handing over all these things are in the process. The Kerala party unit has taken a position on that. That position is there. Let us see what the decision the government takes, and on that basis we'll react. So every move that they keep doing, there is no need for us to react. We have taken our position. That position is there before the government in Kerala. So let us see what they will decide.
What is the fate of Politburo Commission? Is there any time frame for the Commission to submit its report?
As soon as possible. I said, you asked me a question, what is the time frame? The time frame is as soon as possible. The PB Commission, yes, there were 6 members in the PB Commission. Now there will be 5 members in the PB Commission. There will be General Secretary plus 4 members of the Politburo. That is all the old 4 members. Prakash Karat, S. Ramchandra Pillai, B.B. Raghavulu and A.K. Padmanabhan. The 5th, Comrade Nirupam Sen, is not in a position to attend the meetings, so therefore he will not be now be a part of the commission. But these 5 will constitute the commission. Is the commission now. The work is going on, and as soon as possible we will give our report.
Who is heading the commission?
Heading the General Secretary is there, so he will convene the meetings. There is no heads and tails in our party. We just have conveners who will convene, and then everybody is equal. You see, the coming Kerala and Bengal elections in 2016 are the part of the overall CPM strategy to strengthen itself independently, so that its capacities of political intervention in the country will get stronger, and on that basis of that strength, to first strengthen left unity and then move towards left and democratic unity of left and democratic forces. All this process is a process that will help us in Bengal to consolidate. So the process in both the states of Bengal and Kerala is that this process can only be strengthened and taken forward when the CPIM's political interventions in terms of strengthening the struggles of the people on their pressing issues is increased significantly. And that is what we are aiming at. All that I have told you just now, Central Committee issues, are all directed towards that.
So, if you say you are decision to contest elections in Bihar, and the separate reputed is the backdrop of the coming Bengal and Kairali elections, and test your waters now?
I don't understand. Bihar elections are important by themselves. Bihar is a very important state in India, and what happens in Bihar has an overall national impact. So Bengal, what we'll do is not connected with what is doing. In a sense, they're all connected. In a sense, they're not also. The tactics in Bihar are not going to be worked out only because of what is happening in Bengal or Kerala. It will be worked out because of the Indian situation and what you have to do.
Party Congress people decided that every state unit will have a say, or their decision will count regarding their local elections. Like assembling Bihar, your state committee, Bihar state committee will also have a say, but guided by the national. So do you think that it will once again try to experiment going along with...
No, like you said, we'll take it, there will be a greater say for the state committees, and let us see what the state committee says. If there is anything that they'll say now. Yes, we discussed that this is exactly what I told you. This is what we have said. We will fight the elections as a part of the left front. Well, it's a tough fight. It was when the Central Committee was meeting. You see, like I said, that was just a few hours before this decision that RJD and JDU will come together. So that was not clear by then. So like that, well, it depends on how the situation will go on. And this is a booklet that we have issued on the first year of the BJP, which says, Achhe Din Aayenge slogan, our answer to that is that ek saal bura hal. And next year I'm sure we'll say ek aur saal aur bura hal. That is what our slogan is.
You are saying that the interstate ties are WhatsApp. You are saying that the interstate ties are WhatsApp. But in West Bengal, there seems to be a great autonomy between the states of the country.
Are you going to meet Lalu ji and Nitish?
Yeah, that in West Bengal it is they have travelled separately. That is also a reflection of what you describe as bonhomie. When the Prime Minister or the President of India goes in a delegation, the delegation goes together. The fact that that does not happen in itself, there is a big story which I am sure you will pursue. Okay, thank you very much.
Are you going to meet Lalu Prasad Yadav?
When you visited Kerala, there was the voting inside the state committee meeting.
Huh?
There was the voting inside the...
Yeah, those points we have all answered. That's all over.
CPM ജനറൽ സെക്രട്ടറി സീതാറാം യെച്ചൂരി ദില്ലിയിൽ വാർത്താസമ്മേളനം നടത്തുകയായിരുന്നു. കേന്ദ്ര സർക്കാരിൻ്റെ തെറ്റായ നയങ്ങൾക്കെതിരെ ആഗസ്റ്റ് 1 മുതൽ 14 വരെ രാജ്യവ്യാപകമായി CPM പ്രക്ഷോഭം നടത്തുമെന്ന് അദ്ദേഹം വ്യക്തമാക്കിയുണ്ടായി. രാജ്യത്ത് തൊഴിലില്ലായ്മ വർദ്ധിച്ചു വരുന്ന സാഹചര്യമാണുള്ളതെന്നും തെറ്റായ സർക്കാർ സമീപനങ്ങൾക്കെതിരെയാണ് രാജ്യവ്യാപക പ്രക്ഷോഭം നടത്തുക എന്നും അദ്ദേഹം വ്യക്തമാക്കിയുണ്ടായി. കൊൽക്കത്തയിൽ പാർട്ടി പ്ലീനം നടക്കും എന്ന കാര്യവും അദ്ദേഹം വ്യക്തമാക്കി.